Hello, come on in. We are going to put up some information here. We are starting All Things Odd today, and I'm Dr. Natalie Phillips.
And I'm Dr. Hannah Galloway.
All right, and as you, we're going to get some people, share this out to some people and get people in here. I'm going to have Dr. Galloway kind of review our YouTube right there.
Yes, so big news. We've gotten some more subscribers. We have 15 now. So subscribe to us on YouTube if you like our content. It'll kind of give you reminders when we have a new show. But it's also just kind of an easy way to like play through the different shows or share with somebody that doesn't have social media.
Awesome. And I don't know if you guys have, we have everything categorized in different playlists. We're super excited. We've been getting some comments even on some of our videos. I think that the last one we did with the telecoil was super interesting to people because we had actually a lot of people commenting on that particular one. And we even actually have somebody who might be coming back and be a special guest to give us a little bit more information, which would also be very awesome. So thank you all for your comments on that. So YouTube looks pretty good. Okay, and then I don't know if you guys were able to catch our little reel that we put up earlier today. If you did, I hope you enjoyed it. But we had some fun doing that today, just to kind of get people interested in our topic. So our topic today is really things like, what is the reason why things don't fit in your ear and what are some solutions? And so that's really what we're going to talk about first. And so I'm going to have Dr. Galloway kind of talk a little bit about the first thing that we're going to be just discussing about why things aren't staying in your ears.
Yeah. So, a lot of times people will come in and say, oh, my earbuds don't, or my AirPods or my earbuds or whatever, they don't stay in my ears, especially if I'm running or doing yoga or something like that. And so there are options for that. We can make custom sleeves that go on different sets of earphones. So essentially you let the manufacturer know this is my patient's ear impression and these are the headphones that they use, and they can make sort of a custom attachment for the headphone so that it stays in your ear. AirPods are a great example. And so on the screen here, some of them are AirPod Pros. Some of them are regular AirPods. So like the top one is regular AirPod, and then the one with the shorter little stick to remove it is the AirPod Pro. These are sleeves, and so they're custom made for your ear to keep it in your ear. The only problem with these is that typically you have to take the sleeve off to put it in the charging case. So that may be annoying, but if you're somebody that cannot exercise with, your AirPods in and it's important, then it would be worth, peeling that off every time. Or if you have like a surgical ear, we have had patients in the past that have had surgery done on their ears, and maybe it makes their ear canal really, really large or really, really small. And so the AirPod or a typical earbud is just not going to fit anywhere in their ear. And so with these custom attachments, we can make that happen. So if you see this, this gentleman had a really, really, really small canal entrance. And actually, when you got inside of his ear, it opened up and was big, but it was just getting a headphone to stay in that tiny ear. And so you can see these were skull candy headphones, and this was maybe 2 or 3 years ago. But you can see they made a custom attachment for us that fits on the regular headphone when that regular headphone would not fit in his ear at all. So it's really cool, and we can make them for several different kinds of headphones. We can make earplugs, that are custom in the same way. And I think that's kind of a part of audiology that people don't necessarily think about. We can do some really cool custom ear protection, accessories, things like that. And so while we're talking, about AirPods, the last picture was AirPods. We actually have a giveaway going on right now, that if you leave us a review on Facebook, Healthy Hearing, or Google, we will enter you to win some AirPod Pros. Natalie and I both love our AirPod Pros. And so we decided that would be a fun giveaway and a way to kind of stimulate some reviews on our page. So we're going until the 31st. So we've just got a couple weeks left. And then, we've got a list of people who have made their reviews since then, and we'll do a drawing. So had to just throw that in there while we're talking about, earbuds, AirPods, all things headphones.
Yeah, I love this picture too. I remember doing this patient. I mean, look at his opening, right? It was a reconstructed ear. And it's not only the opening part that the piece of the earbud or the AirPod or whatever will sit in, but even his concha, which is that indentation, the bigger portion of his ear, it was pretty shallow. And so, I mean, you pretty much have to balance something in there. And so I just love this picture. I don't think I'll ever throw it away because of the way that we were able to get those adapters. And when they were sitting in his ears, I mean, they look nice and flush on the bottom left-hand picture. They look nice and flush in his ears, but you wouldn't have even noticed that. And these types of people would most likely have to go to like the headset that sits over the ears. So, it'll kind of go over. But that's really cumbersome to have to travel with or whatever you want to do, right? And so I love that picture. And for those of you just joining, I'm going to take this one down and put the other one down, put the other picture up that we had that we were talking about, because it really shows, again, AirPods or earbuds. Hold on, let me see if I can get this picture back up here. Oh, I'm going to have to open it again. Hold on one second. But really, when you talk about AirBuds and earbuds and AirPods,
I know, I did the same thing earlier.
It's really kind of cool to see that even if it's not a surgical ear and it's something that, people are struggling to keep things in their ears, that they're able to, if they see an audiologist, and get more of a custom fit. But Dr. Galloway pointed out a great, I guess, solution, that even if they do have a sleeve or they have the custom pieces, you still have to take them off, which most of them are like silicone and soft, but you still have to take them off to get them charging in your case, right? And so that's really something that you need to know as well up front. So with people just joining, I wanted to put that back up as well.
All right. And I think too this is one of like the beautiful things of audiologist, is that we can sort of think outside the box. If you're somebody that works somewhere where you have to wear a headset all day long for your job and it doesn't stay in your ear, we can probably make a custom attachment for it. It's just a little bit of detective work to figure out what is the headset, what can accommodate it, what's going to be best for the patient, but certainly worth the time if that's something that you're doing, occupationally. We've made earpieces for firefighters, policemen, different sort of service professionals, musicians. Yep, we can do filtered plugs. We're going to do a post of some really cool filtered plugs that we just made that are glittery, that I'm like, this makes me want to order a new set because they're really cool looking.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Okay, and then custom stuff.
Oh, yeah. And then the other thing that came up this week, which was really interesting, that I wanted to show, and hopefully you guys can kind of see and see what we're talking about, was Dr. Galloway had a patient that had very, very, very tiny ears, and we were fitting behind the ear hearing aids and ear molds. So I want to bring that up here, and she can talk about that as well.
Yep. So this patient has, chronic middle ear issues, just, wax buildup from having really, really tiny ears. She does have Down syndrome. And so that's something that's pretty typical in that population, that they just have really, really tiny middle ears, or outer ears too. And so you can see how little, there's not a lot of reference points, but the actual part that goes in the ear, the canal tip, is so tiny. So they called me from the manufacturer when they got the impression, and they said, okay, there's a couple things we can do. Number one, we can put a traditional tube halfway through that mold and super glue it in, which if you're an audiologist, you're probably like, no, that's a disaster. That was my thoughts, because trying to retube one like that is just a total headache, and you pretty much have to order a new one. So they said the other thing we can do is we can 3D print the tube as part of the ear mold, which is genius. And it looks a little bit different than a regular tube. It squishes a little bit different. The ear mold was made of silicone, and so is the tube. So they told me that likely it's not going to harden, like a regular traditional tube would. Probably not going to have to retube it because it, won't pull out. And this patient, particularly when she takes her hearing aids out, a lot of times she does pull on the tubing. And so this is going to be better because the tubing won't pull out.
Mhm.
And so I thought this was really cool that they called and kind of gave me those options, what we could do to accommodate her ear. So this is the 3D printed one. As far as I know, this is the first 3D printed tubing ear mold that I have ordered or used for a patient. So I'm interested to see kind of, how it holds up over time. But yeah, that was something that we did yesterday that was pretty cool. So if you do have a patient with this small sort of ear or this issue, that's something you can think of. Starkey is the one who made these ear molds, and so I know that they definitely have the capabilities, and it looked really great. So we're kind of excited to see how that works for her. But technology is so cool how we can have, this is like a new solution to a
Mhm.
very old problem. So
Yeah, when she showed me that yesterday, and honestly, the ear molds are beautiful and they're glitter all the way through. Those little like mark-offs is because I was trying to get rid of the serial numbers so nobody could kind of see and track the serial numbers or do anything like that, just for patient privacy as well. But they're beautiful, purpley glitter ear molds. And I mean, if you were to look at this, like it literally looks just like a tube goes all the way through the piece
mhm,
that goes into the ear, right? And with that, like what Dr. Galloway was saying, especially with kids or patients that have Down syndrome, or even kids, right, that have these small, tiny ears, when they take those out of their ears, they pull at the tube. And sometimes that pulls, if it's not
mhm,
what this is, they definitely try to pull that tube. And sometimes that tube, when it hardens, and the cement that's in there is getting kind of old, it pulls the tube right out, right? I mean,
mhm.
you can still get the ear mold out, but it pulls the tube out of the ear mold. And then we've got to cement it back in or put a new tube through. But it
Yep.
goes all the way through. But when you have smaller ear canals that narrow, you can't get that tube where the diameter is all the way around, all the way down in there without it squishing, which
Mhm.
makes the sound quality different as well. And
Yeah.
so that's why Dr. Galloway basically, when they called, said, yeah, no, don't do that. Don't do halfway through,
Yeah.
don't narrow it, whatever it is, right? And so even though this looks like it's a tube that goes all the way through. It literally is a tube that is 3D
Mhm.
printed, and it comes out. And if you look at it, I was trying to get the picture up close, but you can even kind of see the spirals of that 3D printer. I've noticed that when
Yes.
they first came out with 3D printed of like in the ear hearing aids, you could almost see like almost like a thumbprint. It was like some kind of
Mhm.
spirally print on
Yeah, it's
those
like a
shells.
little texture, where
Yeah,
you can
that's what
actually
it
tell
is.
that the printer, like, went back and forth.
Yeah, so it's super cool. Yeah, the, way that it moves and everything, I mean, it's just slightly different from a regular, plastic tube that we use, but yeah, pretty genius. I was shocked. I've never seen anything like that. So, of course, this is why we decided to kinda talk about it and see if anybody else has seen that. But yeah, audiologists out there, if you're a patient watching, this is an option and it's pretty cool. And so I'm starting to think of other people who have moisture issues, to
Mhm.
maybe go that way if we need to get a 3D printed tube into that ear mold versus actually having tubes. Yes, for the audiologist, it's a little bit easier because having to retube is pretty quick and out the door. But if this type of silicone
Mhm.
is better and it won't harden as much or discolor than a regular plastic tube, then maybe you won't be sending it in, right? So it's just something
Yeah.
to ask your manufacturers, ask your audiologist if you're a patient watching, but super, super cool. Yeah.
Well, and I think too, especially for this patient, the maintenance, so her caregiver is not going to be able to change tubes at home. It's likely to get plugged up because the sound port is so tiny. So I just instructed her to, disassemble it from the hearing aid. We got a rechargeable BTE for her. And then just use, like a bulb syringe to blow the debris out of it. Or I told her she can, thread something down through it. But I feel more comfortable with the caregiver, trying to clean that out because they're not going to detach the tube and then not know which way
Mhm.
it goes back in and all of that. So yeah, I'm excited for this as an option. I think for kids, anybody with a developmental disability or somebody that has even poor vision, I think that could be a good solution. So anyway, this was something exciting that we did this week. And the hearing aids we fit were Oticon rechargeable BTEs, the new ones that are also the dark purple. So I should have got a picture of the molds
Awesome.
attached to the hearing aids, but they were really, really pretty.
Yeah. So if you've missed our reel, go back and watch it. We are not condoning glue or a hammer to keep things in your ears. We came up with some great solutions for you today to help that retention, to keep certain things in your ears, especially a lot of people who have AirPods now or earbuds, and they're like, I never fit, even with the custom things or even with the sleeves that they send, different sizes, it's still not fitting. Now you have answers of how you can keep it in your ear when things don't
Mhm.
fit. Yeah. So hopefully, if you have any other questions, give us a shout out, comment below, comment in any one of the live things that you see, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn. Send us a message, a direct message. And if you want to get connected to an audiologist to help make you a custom piece, let us know and we'll find one for you. All right. So with that, we are done with the show for today, and we'll be back next week. Thanks for tuning in.